properly. I'm actually waiting on the white pariah coming back. We're going to be chatting about these questions that we're going to be asking. Hopefully my sound is okay. Just checking my... Right, so hopefully we're back. Hopefully it's working properly. Typical YouNow, God almighty. Here's fight hoping. Just connecting for some reason. Oh. Mismatch Made Socks says, Tommy, can I ask if you voted to stay or go to Brexit? I didn't vote at all. No, I believe that Brexit, we shouldn't be leaving the EU. Like I say, it's basically going to rise up the prices of everything. There's going to be jobs lost, especially in the cars industry and such likes. Scottish independence. I didn't vote in Scottish independence either. I don't believe that Scotland should go independent. I believe that the UK is Britain, but rule Britannia. We're better together. That's one thing I believe in so much. Oh,
Hey!
oh, it's
back.
typical.
You know what? In that short time that you were offline, I found myself like accidentally putting myself in the guest queue of 2 teenage girls, and then I was watching some 14-year-old girl putting loads of makeup on. She had an Irish accent. She was saying, "Yeah, I'm from the US, but I moved to Spain and I've been there for 11 years." So I was like, "Well, you sound like you're from..." Anyway, but it makes you wonder, like, what people... I can't imagine what it would have been like as a teenager to have this going on.
I know, it's a different world. Like I see, when I was younger, we didn't internet or anything. It was...
Yeah, it's crazy. Mismatched Socks says the worst stream I ended up in was a woman with an adult diaper.
Oh,
Actually,
God.
when me and the Frog Queen, you know Amy, right? Amy Brander. We were talking on a stream, this was like ages ago, a late night stream, and some really young girl, she was about 10 or 11, came on and said, there's this game that we've been playing at school, we put ice on our skin until it burns us. And then she was like, I'm really scared that my parents are going to have to take me to hospital. And then she showed us her arm and she'd like basically taken the surface of the skin off. So it was weird. It was really weird because there were we thinking like, why would you come on YouNow and tell 2 strangers this? Is it a wind up? But it was just, I don't know. I don't know how good it is for people's mental health to be online that young, to have connections with people who could be, you know, God knows what.
That's
and it's completely out of sight of the parents.
They really need to set an age restriction and somebody there really monitoring. I know they've got the YouNow moderator and such likes, but the kind of age that we're in where there's these internet creeps and such likes where young kids are on it at 12 and 13, and that is terrible.
Yeah, and I guess that, and even for us adults, we all think that we know each other just on the basis of online conversations, and you know, Isel is the king of doing that. And I'm not saying that I'm the judge of who's friends with who, but I'm not stupid enough to think that I am close friends with someone that I've only been in touch with for a short while online, because you know, it could be anybody really.
He even said the same about Lauren Phoenix, the vegan lass, that she's his best friend, and he's
I noticed that.
One of the only YouTubers that he actually bothers with and things like that. And I don't know. I think that was just a way of trying to get at me because Lauren's got an eating disorder, I've got an eating disorder.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm not like about psychoanalyzing people, so I would never, you know, make a video about. People always leave me comments saying, "What do you think is wrong with Durin Rider? What do you think is wrong with Isel?" I'm like, I don't put that stuff out there because it's not my business.
No.
But I do feel like he must realise that the things that he says really it lays all of his psychology open. We can see it all. It's as plain as day to most people. And that's the weird thing about it. Oh yeah, I know everyone says DR is a narcissist. Everybody is a narcissist because we're all on the internet for our own benefit, right? We all want to see our faces on the internet. So there's a level of narcissism that we all have to have for self-preservation. It's just that for some people, depending on your background, depending on your, you know, your sort of, there's a word that I keep not being able to think of, but it's like your, to do with friends, pathology, that's the word, on your pathology and, you know, your experiences, how much trauma you've experienced, whether you've got mental health problems or what your current circumstances are. We all have narcissistic tendencies. Just for some people that gets like magnified if they've got nothing in their life to temper that. So like DR and Isel are quite similar in that their whole lives are led online, and so they've got this weird skewed view of what the world is. And yeah, it's difficult to take criticism. We all have an issue with taking criticism, but there's a difference between finding it difficult and admitting that and just going out and saying, no, I just know better than you all the time. It doesn't win you any friends, unfortunately.
Margaret says, I read a study about monkeys choosing to look at pictures of dominant monkeys over food. Never heard of that one, actually.
So they did choose to look at dominant monkeys over looking at food. Yeah, that stream Isel did on the Happy Healthy Vegan thing. I mean, I only saw the version that he put on his channel, and I'm not even subscribed to him. It's just someone had mentioned, you know, I'd seen Vegan Cheat or someone mention it, and just the way he shouted at Ryan, who is an older man who has a lot more life experience than Isel does, and is the kind of person that understands that you don't just jump into bed with people and exclude other people. He's pretty even-handed, and for him it's not really about the politics, and I think Isel has a problem with that because he, to some degree, probably recognises that he doesn't have that himself. That was the impression that I got from it, anyway.
Buddhism and such likes. He's a professor in Buddhism and such likes, and he's the kind of person that if you've ate one sandwich, he's ate two. You know what I mean? That's
yeah. I think Ryan's older than Isel, isn't he? Isel's my age, which is frightening. We're the same age as Isel. Who looks older? Not out of me and Tommy. Obviously, we both look much younger than Isel. No, but I do feel like Isel's demeanour is that he feels that he's wiser than other people. So he always talks from a point of, you know, he talks as a knowledgeable person would, which is fine if you are. But if you've still got stuff to learn, especially about dealing with people and about, you know, life in general, which in academia there's quite slim pickings going on about life. I've been in that world, and people were weird. Like there was so much weird stuff going on there. I'm
a firm believer that the day you stop learning is the day you die, and every single day we learn something new, and nobody knows everything.
Yeah, that's one of the great things about having special interest for me, is that I learn so much stuff, and the more that I learn, the less I realise I know. It's just, there are so many different viewpoints from everything. You could be, I'm not averse to saying that I've completely changed my mind, which is something that people do find difficult, and I've had to really work at doing that. And it's still difficult to admit that, you know, something you were so set in your mind about, that might change if you with some extra insight or an experience or more information or whatever. I'm not really, I don't really want to criticize the fact that he's in academia. That's his life, whatever. But like, you know, lots of people have got degrees, lots of people have got masters, lots of people have done humanitarian work, but we don't have to go to wherever it was. Oh, Laos, I should remember that, right, because he has said it at least 6,000 times over his videos.
This is an email that I got from a person that actually, that he deleted his comment on that video about the insanity in politics. Her name's Yi Evans. She's actually from China. She says, Tommy, your powerful message is so touching and makes me cry. Great video. Aizo is lying in every aspect of his life, even his current job in China. He is not in university in Dihong because there are no single unis in this area. I know because I know him personally. And that's it there.
Oh, interesting.
If you can possibly see it, I don't know if you can see it properly, it's probably right.
Yeah, I can't really see.
That's what she's saying. She knows him
It's
personally. She says that there's no uni in that area.
it's weird, isn't it? I mean, I don't really care what he's doing in China as long as he doesn't like hold it up as some, you know, some this is the ideal. Yeah. Malgazata says normally people don't need to advertise their qualities because they're apparent. So when they do, it seems disgenuine. Yeah, I think it depends what it is though, really. I've always, well, I mean, I've talked a bit about the stuff that I do, but only in response to being told that I can't possibly be doing those things because I've got a mental illness. So it's not like any of my videos predating that were about, you know, here's me and here's what I do, because what's the point in that? Like, I'm not here to tell you about myself. If you ask, I'll tell you, but that's kind of not really part of the deal. So yeah, I think it's we make a lot of assumptions about people, and that's why I'm saying I would never want to assume that he's not doing something worthwhile. But I think once you've referenced it that many times, you have to question whether that's disingenuous or not.
I don't like the way he doesn't believe in the things that obviously the workers that get all the kind of harm that goes on to the workers and such likes and that kind of type of thing. He basically just believes in the animal aspects of things. He doesn't look into all the slave trade and such likes. And
yeah, and again, I don't think we all need to know all of the stuff, and it is good to have one specific line of things to focus on, but you can't just dismiss the rest of it out of hand, and you can't criticize other people for focusing on a different area to you. I mean, this whole idea of anyone saying anything that disagrees with what you say, calling them, you know, saying that they're misrepresenting you, the whole defamation thing, which is getting really old now. Frankly, I don't see what taking Durin Rider to court for defamation does for the vegan movement, because Durin Rider destroyed his own image quite easily, give someone enough rope and all that. And luckily, I wasn't one of the people that gave him any money. And I was not a fan, but I did watch his videos at the beginning, and I liked some of the discourse that he had going on about freely, and I agreed with some of it, and I made a couple of videos saying that I agreed with it and why. But then I found out that he'd been talking about me to someone I know and saying, well, you know, he's all said this to me in an email too. He's like, no, I don't want to touch mental illness for personal reasons. And then he sort of blanked me after that. But then he made out to someone else that I was obsessively emailing him and that I really wanted him to promote me. And then he did that video where he used my video. This is all getting a bit, that video, you know, it's quite hard to follow, but there's a video that I made about Thailand and the permanent vacation, where I was just saying that it's really sad. There are young people that are trusting in someone who isn't necessarily doing it for the right reasons. And he used that video to promote his message, fair enough. But then I found out he only did that to appease this person that we both know, which is bullshit, frankly.
I mean, I'll tell you one thing as well. He slandered me off, and then he sends me a private message on Facebook asking me that if I wanted to be friends with him on Facebook, I could join his $1 Patreon a month and I would get exclusive content. I'm saying,
oh,
what are you playing at? I mean,
but he also assumes that if you've got a problem with him, you should email him privately. But you know, when you do email him privately, he'll pretty much ignore you. If it's not to do with a problem, if you're not threatening him and saying, I'm going to make this video about you, but then why would you do that? Like, it's got to the stage where you've pissed him off so much, They're not going to send you a Facebook message to say, "Oh, please can we be friends?" Because people don't want to be friends with him. I mean, he said
No,
it
exactly.
himself that he's not a nice guy, and now he's just living up to that. So I suppose in some ways, that bit was obviously the most true thing that he said about himself so far.
Yeah. So I've got another 10 minutes before I go, so I'll get out with my wife for my lunch. But
That sounds nice. Where are you going?
we don't know yet. Just going to try and get out and see where we can go and try to kind of get a bit more food in if I possibly can.
Do you find it easier if you go out and kind of distract yourself?
Yeah, I do. Like, that's one thing that I was really always worried about before I became vegan. Like going out and such likes, I would worry about calorie content and food I'm eating. Now I can go out and I don't worry about going out, and I love having gone out and knowing what I'm doing is not only helping myself but the animals and things. And so like I say, basically being vegan's opened the doors that my eating disorder shut for me, and it really, really has.
I find it easier to eat more, I think, as a vegan, definitely,
Exactly,
because
definitely.
generally this stuff is less fatty and healthier and less calories. So yeah, and I've always loved vegan food anyway. I've pretty much been vegetarian for the last 2, 3 years,
That's great.
mostly because of my eating disorder. Um, but before that, I really loved meat, and now the idea of the texture of it really kind of makes me, even if I wanted to eat a piece of meat, I don't think I could now. I remember when I
Yeah,
was a kid, like we were quite poor, so my mum used to make stews that would last for a week, that were made up of like the cheapest cuts of milk meat with all the gristle and stuff in it, and I would chew it up at the table and then keep it in the side of my mouth and go and spit it down the toilet afterwards. So I think it all kind of started with that, really, like this whole idea of food being an issue. It can come from something really that seems like it's not a big deal at the time,
and that's always
but
the worry for me is that the hospital settings they don't believe in things like being vegan, even vegetarian. You've got like one
I
option
know
because, but actually, I
you've.
don't know if you've heard of this place. There's a new place. It's called the Marine Eating Disorder Treatment. It's Marin Vista. It's in San Francisco. They do a lot of things like patient-centered individual psychotherapy and nutrition counselling. They do things like paddle boarding, yoga, qigong, dance movement, and expressive arts. It says they're offering the nation's only treatment guaranteed with lifetime aftercare. And basically, what it is, it's Marine Vista Health and Wellness is an eating disorder treatment centre serving the San Francisco Bay and Marin in North Carolina. We believe that eating disorders are not caused by a combination of psychological, biological, interpersonal, and social factors. We focus upon helping to improve self-esteem, self-concept, how one's experience emotions, relationships, and social support systems. And basically, they do things like the only place that actually do full vegans. Like I say, we work in all dietary preferences, i.e., vegetarian, vegan, kosher, and help participants to identify unhealthy restrictions that may be contributing to their behaviours. It's a pity
Sounds nice.
they don't do that in somewhere like the UK, but I don't think it'll ever happen, being honest.
Well, it's just too expensive, and people can't afford. I mean, the only treatment you can really get, especially as an adult, which I know obviously you and I have had very similar experiences, you know, until you're at the point where you're really seriously underweight, there isn't really anything out there. So it's difficult to. Sometimes you feel like a fraud because even when you're very thin and very unwell, they'll be saying, well,
Yeah,
you know, you've got to be below sub 15 BMI to be even considered anorexic in the first place. But yeah, I think eventually they're going to have to make some sort of better treatment available. I don't know if you've seen that stuff, Huel, that I did a video on ages ago. Like it's like a drink, an oat-based drink. It's
I didn't see that.
vegan,
I'll need to
and
check that one out.
it's like a nutritionally complete stuff. You just mix it up with milk or water or whatever,
That's
and it
great.
tastes really nice. Like vanilla flavor tastes really nice. And I asked that company why they couldn't get, you know, why instead of things like Ensure, which tastes disgusting and has
Yeah,
got animal products and a crap load of other preservative nonsense in it, why couldn't they? Could have they thought about going and speaking to like the Priory or any of the big private health providers, and they just said, oh yeah, well, you know, it takes ages for something like that to be accepted as, you know, But that would be a really easy way out. It could be something that we could campaign for in the future to allow people to stay vegan.
That'd be great.
Because the last thing you want is to associate your recovery and the food that you're eating with something that you know, goes against your ethics and your beliefs. They wouldn't make someone who was Muslim eat stuff that they weren't allowed to eat, or anything that was, they wouldn't give Jewish people non-kosher foods. So why would they do it to vegans? And obviously we're not a religion, but it's still a choice that we're allowed to make for ourselves, that has an ethics base and is something that's recognized worldwide as a thing. You know, it's not a made-up way of avoiding treatment, which I think is what they seem to assume.
I've always hated the idea that basically they take you in there and their main purpose is basically just to fatten you up, and it's like sending you out with a broken leg. You're basically sent out straight back into the community without dealing with issues that's going on in your head. And you know only too well, you get in there and you gorge yourself with all the food, and you know only too well you're going to come straight back out and get straight back to square one. They need to start, obviously, a starved body's a starved brain. You've got to get a healthy BMI to obviously deal with the kind of problems that's going on. But they rarely ever do that, and that's something I just don't know why they do that.
Yeah, I don't understand either, because it costs more in the end, doesn't it, to have someone keep going back into inpatient. I don't think they don't support people to maintain maybe not an ideal weight, but just below, something that they're happy enough with. So for me, that was an issue. So they were saying you need to be exactly bang in the middle of the BMI, like 21 to 25. And that for me is bigger than I've ever been. So it was not a happy place for me to be. Whereas I knew that I was still healthy a bit below that, and for me it was sustainable, so I could cope with I could come to terms with that amount of weight gain. So it's been a bit of a battle to even for it not to be about all the numbers. I still get asked to get on the scales when I see my psychiatrist, and I just say I don't want to. I can tell you how much I weigh. I'm not going to get on the scales though, because you can just tell by looking at me that I'm not seriously underweight anymore, and it's just a triggering thing. And I try not to weigh myself, because otherwise I feel like, you know, that the numbers creep back in and they start to take over everything else.
So it's been lovely speaking to you. We need to do this again, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to try and start streaming a bit more. So I see loads of guys have on the chat have found me, so that's good. Hopefully I'll get something a bit more regular, and we'll definitely do this again.
That's great. It's been lovely speaking to you.
Thanks for having me, Tommy. See you later, guys.
It's a lovely day.
You too.
Bye. So absolutely amazing person. Like I say, I'll link her YouTube channel in the chat as well. If you can please go and check out her YouTube channel, that would mean the world. She's absolutely great person. So I hope you liked this stream, guys. Thank you for everybody for joining in. Hope you have a lovely day, great weekend. Remember, as always, binge on life, purge negativity and starve guilty feelings, and I'll speak to you all very, very soon. Remember, guys, binge on life, purge negativity and starve guilty feelings. Speak to you all soon and love you so much.